is one of the most breathtaking places in the entire world for adventure, especially canyoneering. Over the last few years, our family has tackled some of Utah's most iconic routes, from the icy swims of the subway to the 150-foot free hanging rappel of Bahunan. In this video, I'm sharing with you 6 must-do canyoneering routes that every adventure-loving family should try. Tips and beta to help you be prepared and plan your next canyoneering adventure. Okay, so the subway is hands down one of the most beautiful and iconic canyoneering routes in all of Utah, probably in all of the world. So the subway gets its name because it has this iconic tunnel-shaped rock that was carved by water at the end of the last rappel. It really is something like out of a sci-fi movie. Oh, okay, we can't stop shivering. It was so cold, but we made it through. People can even get to it without rappelling by doing bottom up. However, in this video, we're talking about canyoneering. So the full top-down route is about 9.5 miles long. It takes anywhere between 6 and 8 hours. You're gonna start high up on Kolob Terrace Road. So it is a shuttle hike. You're gonna need to drop a car at the bottom and then take a car up to start at the top. From the trailhead, you're gonna hike across some really beautiful slick rock. All right, welcome. We are doing the subway. We did this back in 2017 when Jiraiya was only 8 years old. And it's really exciting because Tati's doing it with us this time. I'm so scared.
Last time I did this, I was like this tall. It's crazy. I'm like, bam.
Okay, so it's really cool because we got permits at the last minute. So this is a good time to get permits last minute if you didn't plan ahead like we did. And last time we got it, we did last minute permits, so it's good. But let me just tell you a little secret. You might disagree with me. I cannot stand Zion. I had to go in there. It's like going to Disneyland. It is soul crushing, but you come to the subway, you're getting the views of Zion without the crowd. So I think it's worth sucking it up, learning how to do a little short rappel. You're gonna freeze. We're gonna totally freeze in the pools. We did not bother bringing wetsuits because they're in Gabi's trailer that got left in Montana. So we're gonna freeze, we're gonna scream, but it's a good time, and hopefully it takes us less than 7 hours because it'll be dark in about 7 hours. It does take a little bit of navigating, but there are quite a few cairns along the way. You're going to do a lot of short, about 4 short rappels. They're not crazy long, and then you have to swim across a few icy cold pools. Even in the summer, they're freezing cold. We've done it when it's 100 degrees out, which makes the hike out pretty intense, and we're still shivering when we finish the swims.
My phone has 3%, so we're gonna make this super fast. But we just finished the subway, top down, for the second time ever. It took us 6 hours, and oh my gosh, I don't think I realized I was gonna have to try as hard as I did today, especially because we've already done it, so I feel like my overall motivation to try this hard was relatively low. And it was great, it was awesome. Probably don't feel the need to do it again, but just the last 2 hours of hiking out of the subway, once you get to the main subway section, you got about 2 hours more of hiking, and it was horrendously hot. The high right now in St. George is about 100, so you know, out here best case it's like 95 because we're really not that much higher in elevation, especially at the finish when we're doing the hiking. So it was insanely hard for what we thought was just a casual day out, because as the Roblados do, we always find a way to make things harder than they really need to be. You know, we didn't bring wetsuits because the wetsuits are up in Montana right now.
Yeah, no dry bags.
No dry bags, so we had to deal with like carrying the backpack. Jiraiya mostly did it for us, but we did it on a few occasions. Isabelle had an ordeal with that, of holding the backpack while paddling with one arm in a full swim, because we didn't have our dry bag. After finally all this time, we've put off buying dry bags a long time. So between that, and we probably could have benefited from a little bit more water. But overall, yeah, it wasn't our smartest idea to be hiking out in probably about 95 to 97 degrees out of that canyon. It was pretty hard. But the thing is, like, this is super normal for us. This is super normal for us to really just, of course it was hard. Like, we're always used to hard things like this, and I think that's something so much of the world is missing, and so many kids are missing, is like, this has been our whole childhood of always being in these situations where we're exposing ourselves to things that are just really hard. hard, and you really have no choice but to have a good attitude and push your way through it, because otherwise, like, what are you going to do? You're in that situation anyway, so you might as well have a good attitude about it. And I think when you put yourself in those situations and adventures, it helps you face those struggles in life a lot easier. So if you're listening to this and you know you are someone who has kids, you should go and put them in those kinds of situations, because it actually helps you out in the long run way more, even though it's uncomfortable. And if you're someone who's listening to this, go do something hard. Go do something hard, even if it's not the best thing ever in the whole wide world. Like, I want to go climb mountains, but sometimes that hard thing comes in the form of the subway, and it's still awesome.
Number 2 is Pine Creek. This one's also in Zion National Park. It's an intermediate canyoneering adventure. You will need a permit for it. It's not as hard to get, though, as the subway is. Remember to have a rope, your wetsuit, which we actually use for this one, a harness, and a helmet is recommended. This adventure is short, but intense. It's perfect for families that are ready for like a half-day canyoneering adventure, but it's also easy to get to because it's right by the Zion Mount Carmel tunnel. You're probably going to want to shuttle this one too, park lower, and then drive one car to the start. It is relatively easy though, because the rappels range from only 20 feet to 150 feet. Yes, the last rappel is pretty amazing because it drops down into this like dark chamber. You're gonna have a few little tight squeeze spots too. Overall though, it's really approachable for families just starting out with canyoneering. Kids often enjoy all the boulder hopping that you have to do for the end of it. It's also cool because the hike out isn't that hard. It's only a few seconds hike out, 1 minute hike. Okay, number 3, we just did this one, Bahoonin, also in Zion National Park. This one is advanced, mostly because the rappel lengths are so big and the navigation's a little harder. You're gonna need a permit again for this one, a 60-meter rope. Make sure you have a pull cord because ropes getting stuck is common, helmet, and a ton of water. Okay, this was absolutely my favorite one. Because it was more adrenaline filled, because the rappels are so big. You start the same way as if you were hiking to Angel's Landing, and then right before you have to do the chain part of Angel's Landing, you break left and go up to some really amazing views of Zion National Park that you can't get from the other trails. But then once you drop into the canyon, you are not going to see many people.
Everybody, we're in Bahoonin Canyon and we are 6 pitches in now. We just did the main descent into the canyon, and now we're like fully into the canyon. We have a 0.2 mile hike out, and then we have like the last big 3 rappels and one really cool like full free hanging, I think like 45 meter, I don't know what meter, but I think it's like a really big 130-foot rappel, so that's gonna be super exciting. It goes right over next to Emerald Pool, so you get all the people that are looking at you, and hopefully we can beat it and get to the time correctly for the bus, because we're cutting it a little close.
There's 9 rappels total. 4 of them are over 150 feet, and some of the belay spots are a little bit exposed. What it's famous for though is at the end you do a free hanging rappel that is definitely adrenaline filled. It was exciting and exhilarating, which is why we loved it. The biggest challenge for us, at least, was timing, because I accidentally slept in and we got started at almost noon.
Okay. Don't sleep until 9 o'clock and then try to go do a canyoneering adventure in Zion.
Why not? We're gonna be fine.
Yeah, we'll be fine. Doesn't mean we'll be great.
It helped that we just listened to, remind us of Einstein's time is relative, that we can stretch time. So of course we have enough time. We're not going to run out of time. Time is what
our time stretches like my hamstrings. Sometimes it's loose, sometimes it's really hard to touch my toes.
The ranger almost didn't give me a permit for it, but I told her, I promise we're fast. We made it with 10 minutes to spare before the last shuttle of the day went out of the canyon. Worst case, we would have had headlamps and had to hike out. So Bahoonin, I think, should be at the top of your list if you are comfortable with canyoneering and you like big adventures. Okay, number 4, Yankee Doodle, not in Zion. This one's over by St. George. It's the first one we started Tatiana on because it was a beginner to intermediate one. This one, you're gonna need a short rope, like 30 meter. You're gonna need a harness. Helmet's optional if you want. Sometimes you do need a wetsuit. We did this once in December, and we had to Spider-Man crawl across the last pool because it was covered with a sheet of ice. And it, unfortunately, Tati didn't make it all the way across and fell in the cold water, which was pretty intense. So either do it when it's warmer and drier or bring a wetsuit for that last section. If you're new to canyoneering, this is really a great one to start with. When we do family or women's retreats, we often start with this one first. It really just starts with one pretty big 100-foot rappel, and then everything after that is pretty short, and you can just hand line it if you're comfortable with that. The big thing with this one is make sure you have the coordinates of where you hike out of the canyon, because sometimes it's hard to see where you deviate from the canyon floor and have to go up the slick rock, because it's not a well-marked trail. So make sure you have those coordinates. Okay, so number 5 is Island in the Sky. And I joke that if we really like you, we take you on this adventure. It's one that we always expose our friends to who have never done canyoneering or something scrambling type adventure like this before. You don't really need ropes for it to climb it, because it is just scrambling, but it is extremely exposed. So if you have a fear of heights, it might be challenging for you. And then to finish it, you finish with one big rappel, about a 60-foot rappel. So Island in the Sky is also in St. George, in Snow Canyon State Park. So this is a hidden gem inside Snow Canyon State Park. You are going to need a permit for it, but the red rocks and the desert spires and the views are incredible. The rappelling's really straightforward. Like I said, it's maybe about 60 to 80 feet. It's relatively easy. In fact, so easy that there's some parts where you can kind of just handline and down climb if you have a lot of rappelling experience. I don't recommend it though if this is your first rappelling or canyoneering adventure. There is one part that there's a really tight squeeze too, but you can bypass it by going up and around. If you are fairly new to canyoneering and rappelling, but comfortable scrambling over rocks in the St. George area and want a nice little 3 to 4 hour, maybe a little longer if you're slow, adventure, I highly, highly, highly recommend Island in the Sky. Number 6 is really cool because it involves a waterfall. Benson Creek is on the road from when you leave Parowan and you head up to Brian Head Ski Resort. It's a pretty relatively easy hike to the start of the rappels. It's really pretty actually, so I was kind of shocked with how gorgeous it was in that area. We took Victor on this for one of his first canyoneering adventures, and let me tell you, it was shocking.
Whoa. Dad, can you hold him one time?
Come on, Dad!
Move out of the shot!
Look at this guy, Mr. Macho.
Good thing he's single. Okay, so you're definitely gonna want a wetsuit for this one.
So we first did the first one, which is 100 feet, and it's extremely scary, and I freaked out. It's 100 feet, there's one ledge, and yes, you are gonna be in the waterfall, and Danny is dying, we're all dying.
Danny, keep moving.
We're not dying, we're living. This is what living is.
We did not wear a wetsuit, and I thought I was going to freeze to death. So I really recommend wearing a wetsuit on this one because it's from the very beginning of the rappels that you're going to be in the waterfall. So you get cold and you don't get to warm up until you get through it all. Plus, if you have a big group like us, we had, I think, 8 of us and only one rope. So we spent a lot of time in the canyon waiting on each other. And that's where you start to get really cold. As you can see, we had to jump and shake a lot to try to stay warm enough.
What idea was this? Oh, it was mine.
Benson Creek is a great one, especially on a hot day, or make sure you have that wetsuit. I had to throw in a bonus one because if you're in the Moab area ever, this is kind of a bucket list adventure that I highly recommend. There are a ton of guides who will take you on it if you're uncomfortable with canyoneering or rappelling. Morning Glory Arch in Moab. It is incredible. It's a 200-foot rappel off an arch in Moab. How cool is that? So for this one, it's also a through hike, so you're going to need 2 cars to shuttle it. I remember it being just pretty easy as far as hiking goes, but you're hiking through sand a lot. There's a few little short rappels before you get to the big one. But overall, Morning Glory Arch is one that I would add to your bucket list if you are either in Moab or you want to seek out a really cool family canyoneering adventure. Check out Morning Glory Arch. There you have it. 6 amazing canyoneering adventures in Utah. So whether you start small with Yankee Doodle or go big with Bahoonin, canyoneering in Utah will definitely push your limits, but more importantly, they're going to strengthen your bonds as a family. Adventure teaches courage, adaptability, and grit. Things our kids need now more than ever. If you want to raise kids with confidence, start with adventure, start with nature, start with Utah. Last, make sure you subscribe for more family adventure guides, travel tips, and ways to help you live free and defy the norm.